One of the things coming from DC that I think a lot of us are very excited about is the Lantern series. I cannot wait for this. And the fact that it's being done on HBO is just incredible. Now, we found out recently that not only is John Stewart and Hal Jordan going to be in it, but also Nathan Fillion confirmed that he is going to be a significant part of it as Guy Gardner, who, of course, we just saw in the Superman film. But a lot of people wondering who's going to be the central character. Well, that's what James Gunn was just asked. And he's kind of saying, not definitively, but he's saying it's kind of John Stewart's story in many ways. This is what James Gunn said. Said, speaking with CBS Sunday Morning, Gunn pulled the curtain back on Lanterns just a tad, revealing that the series is basically John Stewart's story. Gunn said, then we go into Supergirl and Lanterns next summer. CBS asked, are you going to have all three Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and Guy Gardner? Gunn replies, yes, and Guy Gardner. And it is basically John Stewart's story in a lot of ways, but it is with those other characters. All right. This is rather significant, I would think, because when they first announced the Lantern series, it was a lot of people were debating online about, well, which Green Lantern? I mean, I don't think anybody thought it was going to focus on Guy Gardner. I don't think anybody thought it was going to focus on Kyle Rayner. But the really big question was it going to be Hal Jordan, was it going to be John Stewart? And I think a lot of people a little bit older than me and my generation, maybe a little bit younger than me, to us, Hal Jordan is Green Lantern. Like that's just it. Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. And then there have been other lanterns, but Hal Jordan is Green Lantern. But for another generation, John Stewart has been their Green Lantern. Like a lot of kids, Rob, grew up watching that, I can't remember the name of the animated series, but that one animated series, Justice League animated series, where Justice Stewart.
League, Unlimited,
where John Stewart is Green Lantern, right? So then we get these images come out. It looks like it's going to be about both of them. All right. But now Gunn is saying it's basically John Stewart's story in many ways, he says. It doesn't sound like it's pretty definitive. So here's the thought that pops into my head, Rob. When I hear him say that in many ways is kind of John Stewart's story, my thoughts go to Men in Black, where if you look at Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones has just about every bit as much screen time. He's every bit as a lead in the film as Will Smith. But the story of Men in Black is primarily told from Will Smith's character's point of view, right? The camera kind of gets focused on him. And I wonder, and I am just speculating, if with this Lantern series, we're going to get kind of a Men in Black thing where Hal Jordan is the vet. We've seen other iterations where they've done that. Hal Jordan is the existing Green Lantern. John Stewart comes in, gets taken under Hal Jordan's wing sort of thing. So I'm wondering if in this case, Friday Night Lights is Tommy Lee Jones and Rebel Ridge is John Stewart or is Will Smith. And it's going to kind of be that. So it's really going to be mainly focus on these two guys, but the perspective is really going to be John Stewart. And then Guy Gardner and other Green Lanterns will probably pop in there to fill out and flesh it out. But that's how it kind of seems to me. Anyway, Rob, you hear James Gunn's comments on this. What do you think he meant by it? And how do you expect this to play out for Green Lanterns?
Well, I mean, I think that like any story, the focus of this story, John Stewart might be returning home to deal with some issue that happened in his hometown and Hal Jordan went to help him. And so whatever the prime mover behind the story is, or the inciting incident, is directly related to John Stewart himself. And that would tend to that makes sense to me. And I like that idea. I mean, you always need, if it's a mystery that two characters like in a Lethal Weapon movie set out to solve together, that's one thing. But I think that it's going to be really interesting to see how the Green Lantern Corps is established, because they're going to have to establish the Corps. Did John Stewart take over from Hal Jordan? Does John Stewart go to Hal Jordan for advice or needs his help? I think it's going to be really interesting. So I like the idea that it's a John Stewart tale and that the other Lanterns are going to be involved somehow. I think it's great. I mean, I've always loved, when I was a kid, I really loved the Green Lantern, Green Arrow series that I later picked up when it was republished in the early 80s. And now I have a big hardcover of it. I love when, two superheroes kind of hit the road in the middle of America to solve problems. And I'm really looking forward to this. It's interesting that one picture is really the only thing we've seen of the Lantern show. But if you look at it, those guys look like they might be in the American Southwest and they're going to go open a can of whoop ass on some like cartel members. You'd never know that's a Green Lantern show. And if that's,
and I think they've wrapped filming, and that still remains to this day the only thing that has ever come out of it. Like, we have not seen leaked set photos. We've not seen character images like that. They put that one image out, and it's a great image.
I love it.
To this day, that's the only thing.
It's got attitude. And that image, it's just two guys walking down a road, but the fact that it's a Lantern's image, you think about the last time we saw Green Lantern committed to live action, I think Green Lantern is half a good movie. I think the villains and the parallax stuff makes it way wacky, but I really like the stuff on Oa. I like meeting Kilowog. I really enjoyed when Ryan Reynolds sort of toned it down a bit. I like that movie, but half of it's insufferable. But I want to see that. I want to see that writ large. And I've always loved Green Lantern. He's always been one of my favorite, whatever iteration it is. I love the characters. I love the Guardians. I love Oa itself. I can't wait for this show, man. I can't wait. Bring it on.
What would you say is your favorite iteration of Green Lantern? Because, obviously there was the, what was the name of the original one? Alan
Scott.
So you had the Alan
He's
Scott.
From the Justice Society.
So the Alan Scott, then for a very long time, you had the Hal Jordan thing, which was part of, like, I think one of the greatest stories they ever did with the parallax stuff and everything. I still, one of my favorite things is when Oliver ends up being the one to take the shot to take out Hal. Like, to me, that's a completely moving moment. So you get your Hal Jordan, you got Guy Gardner's, Kyle Rayner's, John Stewart. When you think of Green Lantern now, who's the first version of it that pops into your head?
It's always Hal Jordan, because when I first encountered these characters, I was reading the original run of Justice League in the 70s. And what was interesting was every year the Justice League would team up with the Justice Society. It was a big deal. And I really liked when Alan Scott, I love this costume, but Hal Jordan was always my Green Lantern. And then they introduced John Stewart and they introduced Kyle Rayner and Guy Gardner later. But Hal Jordan to me was always being the test pilot that he was. But then, like in the Justice League Unlimited series, I loved I loved John Stewart. But I grew up as a kid. Hal Jordan was my Green Lantern. But I loved seeing, the Golden Age version of Green Lantern every year in the Justice League comic book, because I lived for that crossover. Lived for it. It was the best.
I'm not gonna lie. So I was always excited about the Lantern series. Always excited about it. Like, especially when we found out it was gonna be HBO doing it. Because it's HBO. They are the kings of making great television. But my man, once I watched Penguin and I saw what HBO could do with something like that, my excitement level. Look, I'm not saying, because everybody's been trying to make the comparison saying we're going to get True Detective in the DC universe. I don't think we're going to get True Detective in the DC universe. I think there might be shades of that,
right.
But I'm not expecting like that necessarily per se. But I am expecting something good. I'm expecting something really good. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? James Gunn is saying, yeah, we're going to have all these Green Lanterns, but in many ways, it's going to be John Stewart's story. What do you think he means by that? Do you think the way I kind of do that, it's going to be like a Men in Black situation where it's like Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, but it's really kind of Will Smith's story in many ways? I don't know. Maybe it's going to be something else entirely. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.